Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. How you been? It is, if you hadn't guessed by the familiar music and intro, it is time to do, sadly, what is the last of the Sucker Punch figures. Unless Moonju has gotten it into his heart and his soul to make any more, this is the final of the 5-gal set. And it is Amber. And let's get down to it and meet the parts. Now, I will go ahead and tell you, having built the full range of these figures from Moonju over the last couple of years, noticed a trend. I think I pointed this out last time. They're getting simpler and simpler and less accoutrements and less weaponry and all that, and also the likenesses are getting further and further away from the actual actresses and more into the characters. So even though this is modeled after a lovely actress named Jamie Chung, it does not look a lot like her. So with that in mind, join us on the table where we meet the parts. And here are the parts. Now, I will tell you, for this build I have switched to a new resin. This is the 8K resin from Frozen. The brand, the color name is called Vanilla. It is a closer flesh tone than even the one I had used before, the ivory that I had used before. It gives a lovely result. Now, these are the files. These are the pieces that I printed out first for my well, you know the drill by now. My buddy Dave, he will buy the files. He will ask me to print them. I get one set of files one print for myself, and then he gets the good parts. So these parts are going to have some, and then I delete the files. These parts are going to need some bit of repair. You'll notice a big boo-boo here on this heel that needs to be resculpted. Small things like the back of her ear here is absent, and that will need resculpted. There was an issue on her on her right hand. I couldn't get it to print out correctly and get all the fingers in the orientation the way I had it. Eventually I switched the orientation around, but I ended up with this one with a divot here in the thumb that I can easily fix. Now, I did split the base in two simply so that it would print quicker, and I have since glued that back in place and did some seam work on it, and you can see the line across the back, and I will make best with that. I need to take the let's see, I think it would be Sweet Pea that is right next to her on this side, and see how much of this base I need to carve out. But look at how beautiful. When this thing prints good, it prints darn good. You can see the detail that is available here. Now, as I've said, I think Moonju is starting to get less and less, I don't say challenging, but less and less invested in his sculpts, that these are a lot simpler than the initial baby doll sculpt. Although I am tempted, I have to say, after using this resin, and in the year and a half, 2 years since I've printed baby doll and did that, I'm almost tempted to go out and buy another set from him and reprint it in this new stuff, because I'm just wondering how much better of a job I could do on it now. You'll see some of the chicken skinning here on the back that needs to be sanded down. That is the inherent evil of using 3D printed parts, is that you're going to get someplace where the supports are sticking out. I still haven't gotten that good at setting my supports that they don't leave blemishes, but here you can see a blemish on her cheek. Now Dave's part has that area fixed, but no sense tossing this out. I can do some surgery on that. Like I said, the costume on this isn't as complicated as some of the other ones. It's got two great things. Well, it's got one good thing and one bad thing. Well, the best thing about it is it's mostly olive drab green, so we're not going to be into the sea of you know, different color blacks and silvers. We've actually got some color that we can play with on this one. It's not black, silver, and brown. This is olive drab and greens and browns and, you know, a little bit of silver, but not so much. But it does have another area of that mesh that I don't know exactly how much success I'm going to have with it. The area inside her chaps here, front and back, and on her knee are going to need to have that mesh covering. Now I've cut some pieces of the screening to see how well that's going to work. So that's something to play with. We went through that once before, so I'm prepared with how to deal with it. And also the feet have to have, where you can see how horrible these supports are showing up here. They go into this base, and as you can tell, the base is much thinner than the feet, so we're going to have to cut off what hangs below there. This is meant to go on a taller base, but we're not going to be using that taller base, so I need to cut this much of it off. But since both feet go like this and the legs are kind of knock-kneed and closer together, we can get a better estimate of how much boot is actually going to be showing, and then where this, you know, what's visible, what's not visible, where the seams, you know, where the chicken skinning from the printing isn't going to be a big deal, and where it is. Now this fits up into that leg like that, but as you can see, by the time we get to here, the legs are very much together. Oh, well, you can't see that because this is so tall that I need to pull back and show you the full thing. But you can see how, make sure I am zoomed out, but you can see, given her pose, areas that are inside the leg here, I'm going to have to kind of clean up and be able to deal with those before I even glue the hips down to the tops of the legs. I think we're going to be able to do this pretty much in a torso and lower torso. Here we have the arms into the, and then of course we can do the head as a separate piece because it's got that bit of necklace, which gives me a natural join line, and I don't have to worry about you know, sanding or puttying in around her neck, because it's a, like I said, it's a natural joint line, and so are both of the shoulders. So by the time we get, even her wrists have wrist gloves on, so that this line here doesn't have to be blended. But we could do a top torso and a bottom torso and work at it that way. There's a couple gun pouches and knives to attach, but like I said, nothing as big as Baby Doll's katana or anything like that. So today I am going to be cleaning up these parts a little bit more. I'll be using that sonic knife to clean up some parts and start looking at what needs puttying so that we can start painting. So pull that off, pull this off. The first thing I guess we need to do is to cut the bottom off of these shoes so that it'll sit in the base. And the other thing we need to cut is the base itself. So I need to go get Sweet Pea and stand her next to that so I can see how much of the base I need to carve out. Right, I did a quick choppy chop on the bottom of those boots so that it will stand now. And I've also brought Sweet Pea in so that we can get our positioning correct. Now Sweet Pea, you see, like again, how elaborate this base is and the nice weapons and everything. We don't have much of any of that, but what we do have is, and I'm trying to do this with one hand and hold the camera, so let's put the camera down. That's probably the smart thing. Put the camera down. There we go. And we're going to hold her torso together, and there goes her hand. Now, if I were to, I can almost kind of put her back to back with Sweet Pea, because Sweet Pea is like this facing front. I can, boy, I'm just gonna have to put the camera up here just to get far enough away. Okay, there's the two of them. Now I'm thinking that if Sweet Pea is facing this way, that I can go ahead and do, I can get very close to these two. So what I need to do is set Sweet Pea up on a base that is as thick as this base, and that will give me, if I just do that, just some scrap pieces of the bases I've cut off before, and then this will allow me to basically do this. And I can sit and show how close everybody's going to be. I still would kind of like them facing the front. So she's going to face that way, and then I can move her back like that. Man, I can get right up on that thing. Okay, so that's going to allow me to, and I've given up on trying to make the bricks line up. That was something that I was able to do before. That's a luxury I don't have now. But if I wanted to face her like that, maybe push her a little bit further back, like that's I think that's a good relationship. Now, given that we've got the other four ladies out here, the three ladies, I'm sorry, because we have Baby Doll and then the other two on that side. So if we push this back like that, well, you know, I can line up the bricks somewhat, but that really puts her back to back, and I don't know if I'd like that so much. I would like to have her facing front like the rest. So that pushes her around like that. And her base looks like that. Okay. Hey, and that does line the bricks up somewhat. Yes, okay. So great, what I can do now is just draw out the pencil line on the base, and that will tell me how much of this I need to cut away. Let's move, baby, don't move Sweet Pea out of the way. And we come up with a, move this out of the way. We come up with a base, and I'm hoping all this is still in camera. We come up with a base that is like that. Now I know how much of this I need to cut away. Alrighty, that's about as close as we can get. I've just fine-tuned that cutout there, files and sanders and implements of destruction, and this is the piece what got cut out. So this is what's left, and now we've got a good solid joint there, so I can take Sweet Pea back off of the table and concentrate all of my work on Amber. Alrighty, I just finished up some of the sculpting that I wanted to do to patch some holes. You can see I put the little patch on her wrist there and rebuilt the ear there, and I overdid it, knowing that A, it's going to shrink a bit, and B, I can always sand it down a little bit after I've got it, after it settles. So I also plugged up a lot of the drain holes that I had put in. So that's going to set up and be nice overnight. I also took care of some of the blemishes. That's going to set up. And we'll get our, actually I think tonight I can go ahead and get the first coat of primer on this. This seam's going to need worked at, but I need to put some primer on it to see how bad it is first. So let me throw some gray primer on this. Because I know someone's going to ask, when I said that this new color of resin vanilla was more skin tone like. Here's a piece of the old the stuff that I used to use, and then here is a piece of the new. Here's the head plotted or printed in the new color, and you can see this is pink. It's almost artificially pink, whereas this is more in line with a flesh tone. So yeah, it makes a difference. It's a subtle difference, but it makes one. Alrighty, welcome back. It's day 2 on the amber build, and I am so happy because I get to start putting some paint down now. And it's not going to be black or brown or silver or chrome or any of those. It's going to be an olive drab, or maybe even a little bit bluer than that. But it's a military color for all of these nettings and everything else. Now I've masked off the skin. You can see where I've got the knee masked off there. And this is the color I'm going to use. This is from the New Worlds line of paint. This is something new, hence the term New Worlds. But this was something that I was introduced to back at Wonderfest in getting ready for that airbrush class that we gave on the Star Wars Marauder, the Bad Batch Marauder. Didn't have much of a cause to use the green there. It's called Vile Green. But I'm going to give this a good shaky shake. Now the selling point of this is that it purports to not need a primer coat underneath it, which is great because I don't want to put any primer on this 3D resin. A, it doesn't really seem to need it. B, when you clean your parts off in alcohol and after all of that, you've really taken care of a lot of the things that you would do with a primer coat. And I just got a little bit of sanding to do here on the skin where I have puttied in some of the pock marks from the printing pock marks, the dreaded 2 P's of printing pock. But we're going to see how well this does cover, and I'll give you a report. Now I did find out from using this that it's surprising that a few hours, if you spray it on and leave it for a few hours, the paint coverage actually gets better. It levels out and looks much happier after you have gone away from it. So I'm going to put some of the green in the brush, and we're going to paint all of the arms and legs and the the chaps going down into the legs, and even her wee army hat is going to be painted first, and we'll see how this looks, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, I've got the various bits all covered with a couple coats of the green. I may go back and do another one. Impressions of this paint, it's awfully gummy. I had a fan going, and maybe that helped or hurt, but it dried up awfully quick. So I had to dilute it down a little bit more than I was comfortable with, and that gave me a splotchy job, so I had to let that dry and come back over it. But that's my impression. It needs to be, it's a thick paint. It's very much like the mission models as far as being a thick paint that you have to really mix well before you put it in your brush so that it doesn't gum up. But even at that, and I'm going to blame it on the overhead fan that it was drying out paint too quickly. But as you can see, I've got the some of the green down, and it's a very good base. We'll see how it dries, and then we'll come back and start adding things on top of it. Alright, as promised, I walked away from the paint and let it do its thing and came back to it, and it does look very nice. There's some splotchiness to it still. I think that's more on me than any problem with the paint itself, but that'll provide a good base. Now, of course, we're going to be adding highlights and shading to that, so that's nowhere near the final product, but it's a darn good start, and that's all I really wanted for today. I've also put a coat of base on the boots, which I'm sure will surprise no one to find out that those are black. So we're going to let that dry overnight, and we're going to come back tomorrow and start doing some serious work on things. Now, I think we can see once we've got everything in hand, that a lot of the straps here, there's going to be some brown belts. Of course, the zippers are silver, and there's going to be a lighter dry brush over that. I have to figure out which of these, or I find out on the, get some references, which of these ammo packs and whatnot, are they brown like they always have been? Like Baby Doll has these same ammo packs and they are brown, but are they brown for amber, or are they black? So I'm going to have to do some reference checking on that, and we will pick this up again mañana. Well, good morning, welcome back. It is Wednesday, and I'm continuing work on amber here. Now I'm just massing in the colors. Yesterday I did the khaki on her uniform and boots, and today I'm seeing how that looks with a base flesh color that's not final. None of these colors are final. They are a first draft. Now I've gone through my reference and looked and saw that the leather on this is not brown, it is black. So like the holsters and the belts and all of that are black with highlights, obviously, but we still have some silver zippers to put in, and like I said, I've just put in a basic flesh color to see how everything is looking. And how it's looking is I really need to lighten up the greens that I've chosen, because I'm not seeing enough contrast between the green and the black. And since I can't change the black, I can change the green, and that's what I'm going to do. As you can see, the straps are there. They're just not visible against the green. And I kind of thought yesterday as I was putting that green down that perhaps it was a little on the dark side. But that'll be good for the pre-shading for the shadows. All I need to do would be to top coat it or hit it lightly with a lighter green, and it will blend back into those shadows. And yes, I know I'm going to end up painting these things several times. I'm not going to mask off every little strap just to repaint the green here. I will paint the straps again. That's certainly something I can do. But now that all of these have had a base coat on them, I'm going to let them dry. Well, good morning, welcome back. It is Thursday, it is the gateway to the weekend, and I can finally get a moment of peace here. I've been running the plotter for the last couple of days. Got another order, they just keep coming, so I got to keep cutting. So where I'm at today on amber, and I think I've used every color but amber in this build, is I found a green that I like, and I found a highlight to that green that I like, and I've started putting the flat coats over just to see what the final color is going to be, because everyone knows that a flat coat over top of a paint job will, a clear coat, will accentuate the colors and bring them up and make them a little bit bolder. And I wanted to see if I was happy with that before I went too much further down this particular rabbit hole. And I do, I like it. The green is a nice contrast to all of the blacks and browns and there, shut up you, and silvers that I've been painting on these ladies so far. So I'm really enjoying that. But we're to the point now where I have to get out our old friend, the screening, because the only on her chaps, the knees and the crotch area are mesh. There's a mesh stocking underneath all of that, so that's something that I need to take care of. And really beyond that, there's not much else to do with this costume. It's a army fatigue green. Now there's some silver zippers that need to be painted in, but a nice wash over these tie downs, or I don't know what you would call it. This is very much like what they used, the same type of military costuming that you saw in Alien, where they had the this type of accent going down the sleeves, and it's also prominent on her chest and on the sleeves as well. Let me double check. Yeah, down the sleeves you've got the same type of ribbing or lacing. That's the word I was looking for, going down the side. So once I get these done, now I've got the boots done. They're just a gloss black. I may throw some mud on them, but other than that, they're done. The base is done. I've sprinkled some landscaping moss on there. Then I'll wait for that to dry, and then I'll blow the excess off. But we're kind of working our way up from the bottom because the feet are done. There's nothing special about the boots. They're not like the eyes on them aren't silver or anything. It's chrome. It's a black boot. And then the leg goes on top of that, and we're just working our way up. The hips and the chest area are probably the most complicated. I've been painting in the black accenting that goes in around some of these straps. And we're going to see how that looks once I put a clear coat on top of that. That just reminded me that there are 2 straps here that I missed that have to get this black coat on them. And it's interesting because I'm trying to figure out which blacks I like. Now, there are Tamiya blacks, there are Model Master blacks, there are New World blacks. They're all kind of different. And I want, like on her boots, that was a Tamiya gloss black. But when I paint particularly the fabric, I don't want that to be gloss. So I find a nice flat black for that. For these leather straps, I want another type of black. But you know, it's when it all gets hit with the clear coat is when you're going to start seeing the differences. So just painting in the sides of these straps very cleanly, trying to with a tiny brush. And then I may have to go back in after it's been clear coated and go back over some areas with a flat coat to knock the finish back down. So that's kind of where I am right now. It's all gloss when it goes on, but of course it's going to dry. It's either going to dry with a satin finish or a flat finish. And trying to do this without the magnifying goggles on because they make me look goofy on camera. But I'm struggling with the difference between appeasing my vanity and, you know, being able to see. So we're going to paint the sides of those stripes, and those look pretty good. This has to sit like that because that's the only flat side of it. Scattered throughout the rest, you will see I have got various other parts done and ready to go. Now, the face, of course, it's its own animal. I might take a whole day to do that. I've been lucky the last couple of times that I've gotten it pretty much right on the first stab. So we'll see if my luck holds out with that. I don't want to have put too much shade or too many layers of paint on. But the beauty makeup, and of course she gets the same smoky eye as the rest of them have. And let me pop that back up here so you don't have to see that. But here's what I was saying about the detailing going down the arm. The arms are and the legs are the easiest, really, because they've got the least amount of stuff on them. So that's kind of where we're at with that. All right, take a look at that. That is first piece of mesh over the left knee. I think that's working pretty good. It's a question of starting at one side, rolling it over, and then kind of pulling it down and darting it and gluing it around the edges as you go. An outside corner like this is always much easier. It's like making, I guess, crown trim in a room or something like that, where you're dealing with the outside corner. It's always a lot easier to calculate than the inside corner. So not so bad, not so bad. I'm liking that. Paint the zipper in there, and I think that'll pretty much do the left leg. I think I want to put a wash down through all of that just to bring out those laces a little bit more. I have to figure out the best formula for that yet, but I think that's the next step after I tackle the right knee. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, last work day of the week. You know that by now. Last work day for Amber for this week. Now, certainly we won't be finishing Amber this week. We've got lots to do. Had some good success yesterday putting the screening on her knees. So we're going to continue that in a similar vein today. We are working in this area. I've got some pieces ready cut that I'm ready to fold and put in there that are going to give me the mesh that I'm looking for on the fronts here. Now, I had this piece, honestly, I had this piece done yesterday, but I took it off because, here's the piece I took off yesterday. You can see how ragged that is. Because you could see through, obviously it's mesh, and I didn't like how that was painted. And I thought maybe the mesh would cover it up and it wouldn't be as noticeable, but no, you could see it. So I wanted to repaint that area and put the new mesh down. So we're going to do that today. I'm still not wildly happy with the green. It's a little bright for my eye. The arms and legs are probably closer. I've got them in the other room and because they're mostly done. But the arms and legs, I'm going to try a wash on them. More of a, not a brown necessarily, but more of a deeper green. The green was almost getting too much into the blue side. Let me go get you a couple pieces and I think it'll show you the difference. Here you can see the difference between what's going on the arm versus what's going on the chest. And honestly, I think that's only the difference that's being made is because of the, this was hit with a clear, flat clear overcoat. And this has not been given that flat clear. And I think if I hit this, you're going to see that it darkens down everything. So before I try anything, I'm going to spray this with a clear flat to see what it does to the colors. And I think that's going to be good anyway because I want to do the clear flat before I paint in the metallic accents because you don't want the metallic to be dulled down by the clear coating. So let me put a clear coat on this and then I can go in and like paint the zipper and the belt buckles and things like that and you'll get a truer idea of the final colors. I'm also doing a lighter, on purpose, doing a lighter color on the inside of the jacket, more of a what are puffy jackets made out of? I mean, this is obviously a fabric on the outside, but that's almost a polyester on the inside. It's more of maybe a satin. That's what I'm thinking. A satin lining on the inside, which would be a different color. So we're going to try that. This is how we're looking top and bottom. I think their colors are pretty consistent. So I'm thinking that maybe this needs to get flat coated before I start working on anything. Actually, I think I do. I want to flat coat in that skin before I put the mesh over them. So we'll flat coat that because that's what I did. I'm remembering now. Thank you for jogging my memory. I'm remembering that before I did the knee pieces on the legs, I sprayed the whole leg with a clear coat. And then when I put the knee piece over it, or the mesh over the knee, it was covering up something that was coated that way. So let me take these arms off. Actually, I can leave the arms here because I still want to try that wash. But let me put a flat coat over these two chunks and then we will come back and take it up from there. I am wildly happy, nay, ecstatic over how that looks now. That is simply a black wash, about 75% set black wash and a couple of drops of olive gray to put some green into the black wash. But that's exactly what I wanted to have happen. It has dulled it down. It is more cohesive with the arm colors. It's not nearly as bright now. It's it's a funny thing in the filming of this movie. All of the colors, because you know how much Zack Snyder hates color, was all desaturated. So I'm looking more at off-screen publicity shots than I am in relying on anything from the movie because you're not getting with all the filters that are on it, you're not getting a true version of what the colors of these uniforms are. I got a schmutz there on the neck that I've got to repaint. That's the troublesome thing, is I'm trying to keep some areas clean and letting the wash go into other areas. So we're going to let this settle into the recesses and whatnot, and then maybe it might have to come back in and touch up the highlights, touch up the skin. The black should be okay because any of the wash isn't going to be as dark as the black is already, but it's going to be really noticeable on the skin parts. So I'm also being very careful not to drag my paper towel through it, because that's causing a lot of it too. The chest looks pretty good. It's just that bit of the neck there where I got some green that I have to clean off, but that chest is looking pretty good. Now I just need to match that up with the green that's happening on the hips on her chaps, so that all of my greens are matching. But yeah, this is what I was hoping for. It is the less colorful green costuming. Thing is, you know so much about how this would look in the real world. This fatigue jacket with the lacing. It's a common thing. Anybody who's seen a war picture knows what color that would be. But I need to start doing some of this in camera so you can see it. But yeah, okay, we're going to match that to the chaps, and that will give us a good spot to let everything dry, maybe take a lunch. Okay, back from lunch. It was a late lunch and a big one, so I'm a little bit sleepy. And I have to tell you that I believe, like in most things, there is a point in the day after which it is useless to try to paint detail. Sometimes you just got to catch it early in the morning. Painted in the zippers on the sleeves, like how those are turning out. I painted in the zippers on the torso and the buckles, and I like how those are turning out. Some detail or some cleanup has to be done with the black around there, and excuse me, some of the green around there. But I'm generally liking how that turned out. Most importantly, the greens are all matching from the arms and the sleeves. I did the same thing on the legs. I realized I hadn't put that wash on there, so I went ahead and put the wash on the legs, so they're all caught up. And then we have the last piece that I'm going to deal with today, and that is putting the buckles in there, and all that's been done. Of course, it needs some touch up. Now the head is in a good place, but I'm going to leave it till next week to really start on that. Like I said, my detailing eye and hand coordination at this point in the day is no bueno, so we're going to leave that sit. I think what I'd like to do to finish out the day, since I've got about another hour's worth of working time left, is to go ahead and put these two pieces of mesh in the legs. Now that the flesh color is dry and everybody's happy with it. Is that a green? Is not whether that's green paint or green shadow, but I don't like it. In either instance, I don't like it. So I think I'm going to try pinking that up a little bit more, and then we'll put the mesh in. Alrighty, that was an adventure and a half. So I am going to cut it off there at this point. I've got both of the front panels done. I need to repaint the panties in there to hide the ugliness of that seam. And then next week we will start on the butt end and work around to finishing off the hose or the stockings. But I think that's a good place to stop for today. So I'm wondering if I could stand all of this up and have it hold together. It may not, and I think if I tried, it would end up breaking. So let's not do that. See, as much of this as I can put together without it going horribly awry. So we've got that much. Of course, we've got the hands left to do. We've got the tall legs. We've got the base mostly done. I have to figure out what accoutrements I'm going to put on there. I still have this gas mask zombie Nazi head that I could put on there. The boots are in the other room. But that's a good chunk of work to get done for 1 week, I think. And of course the head, such as it is probably the least done thing. But it's getting there, but you know, slowly. You know, it occurred to me just now that outside of putting the hands in, I could go ahead and glue these arms in place, because there's nothing really that I need to get to that I can't work around with the arms in place. And that'll be, it actually gives me something more obvious to hold on to. So yeah, let me go ahead and do that. That will be fun and quick and showy. Let's go ahead and do that. Put this arm in. Flip it over. Put this arm in. Now I don't want to glue the legs into the hips because I'm still working on those stockings, but I could glue the legs into the feet. That would be something I could do. The feet I don't think need any other work on them. Okay, so now that goes on top of that, and I don't have to worry about the arms falling. Maybe I can stand this thing up. Let's try it. I'll be right back. Okay, there she is, all stacked up. Pardon the shaky camera work. Let's move the light off of her more or less directly there. There we go. Get a shadow on her. You can see the face obviously is going to be left for last, but coming down, got the mesh on the front of her chaps. I've got it on her knees. That much is looking good. Down to the feet. Not much room on the base for any accoutrements, so we'll have to see. There's the Nazi head, but it's kind of sitting in the back. We might have room to put something up front. We'll worry about that next week, but that's how she's looking. Now, I don't have a turntable here, but let me do a quick turnaround pass here. Yeah, that wash definitely did what I wanted it to do on the khaki color, or the green, army green color. You can see the butt cheeks there that still need the mesh on them. And there's that spot on the neck that needs cleaned up. Now there's a white trim on her necklace that I've got to put on there, as well as that black necklace. It's not completely black. There's a white ring around there as well. But that's where we are for 1 week. That's not too shabby. And that's going to do it for week 1 of Amber here, the last of the Sucker Punch figures. Unless young Moonju decides to make any more. He was only talking about making the 5 gals, so this would be the last, unless he could have his arm twisted into making any more. But this was a good chunk to get done in 1 week. Now I know I did 2 gals at once a while ago, and that didn't seem to be impossible, but this one's taking a little bit longer. I've got more things going on in the background, plus I'm slowing down a little bit. I'm not in such a rush to get a lot of stuff done. That being said, I think I've got a twofer coming up in the next month or so that's going to be 2 figures for the price of 1. And because I've just got a lot of figures built up, backed up in the backlog. But we'll finish her up next week. I'll put something on the base, and then I think for an added treat, we'll pull all the other 4 gals out and make one big display, and I can show you how everybody looks all together. So until next time, y'all be good, be safe, be smart, build some models, and we'll see you here next time.